She had just 2 minutes. 2 minutes to reach the interview that could change her life forever. Months of rejection, empty pockets, and sleepless nights had all led to this one moment. But then she saw something that would force her to make a choice between her future and someone else's life. Her name was Amara, 24 years old, an orphan since 15. For 427 days, she had searched for a job, not a career, not luxury, just work, any work. She submitted applications online, walked from office to office dropping CVs, made follow-up calls that were never returned. 11 interviews, 11 rejections. Each rejection felt like a small death. Every morning, she woke up with hope, and every evening, she returned to her tiny room carrying disappointment like heavy bags on her shoulders. But Amara's struggles did not begin after graduation. They began years earlier, the day she lost both her parents. After the funeral, after the mourners left, after the last prayer was whispered, Amara stood alone in the quiet house and realized something terrifying. She was alone in the world. It was her uncle who took her in, a kind man, gentle voice, soft heart. "You are not alone," he told her. "You will stay with us." And for the first time since her parents died, Amara cried, not because she was sad, but because someone still wanted her. Her uncle paid her school fees, encouraged her studies, checked on her often, but his wife never truly accepted Amara. At first, it was small things, cold stares, heavy sighs, cruel little comments whispered loudly enough to hurt. "She eats too much. She is becoming too comfortable here. How long is she planning to stay?" Amara tried to make herself invisible. She ate less, spoke less, moved quietly through the house like a shadow. But nothing she did was enough. Over time, the aunt became harsher. "She is not your child. She should learn to survive on her own. You cannot carry her forever." Eventually, Amara was moved into a small room behind the house. Not a real bedroom, a storage room. One thin mattress, one blanket, one leaking window. But somehow, Amara still remained grateful, because at least there, nobody could tell her to leave. Life became routine. Wake early, go to school, return late, study by candlelight, and when the candles finished, she studied under moonlight. Some nights, her stomach growled so loudly from hunger. She pressed her hands against it and whispered, "Please, just wait a little longer." She worked hard, very hard, because she believed one thing: if I graduate, my life will finally change. And eventually, graduation day arrived. Students celebrated with their families. People laughed. Pictures were taken. Flowers exchanged hands. Amara stood quietly with no one beside her until she saw her uncle standing far behind the crowd, smiling proudly. After the ceremony, he held her hands gently and said, "Your parents would be proud of you." And suddenly, Amara broke down crying, because for years, nobody had spoken about her parents. But graduation did not immediately change her life. Jobs were difficult to find, especially for someone without connections, without influence, without money. Her savings disappeared months ago. Her navy blue dress had faded from too many washings. She had started skipping meals just to save transport money. The last proper meal she ate was days ago. Sometimes hunger became so painful. She drank water and forced herself to sleep, and her aunt never stopped reminding her, "You are still here. After all this education, what exactly are you doing with your life?" Those words hurt, not because Amara believed them, but because she feared they might one day become true. Then one evening, her phone rang. Unknown number. Her hands shook as she answered. "Hello, is this Amara?" "Yes. We received your application. We would like you to come for an interview tomorrow morning." Amara froze. For a moment, she forgot how to breathe. An interview, a real opportunity, a possible beginning. That night, she did not sleep. She lay awake, rehearsing answers in her head. Her stomach growled loudly in the darkness, but even hunger could not silence her hope. Amara woke before sunrise, long before the city noise, long before the streets became busy. She sat quietly on the edge of her thin mattress for a moment, trying to calm the fear inside her chest. Because this interview felt different. Not just another application, not just another rejection waiting to happen. This one felt like hope, real hope. She carefully ironed her only good dress with an old iron that spat water, a faded navy blue dress she had worn so many times. The sleeves had begun to thin. She had no lotion, so she rubbed cooking oil softly on her elbows and knees. No perfume, only water splashed carefully on her neck. Then she stood in front of the small, cracked mirror hanging beside the window. For a few seconds, she simply stared at herself, the tired eyes, the thin face, the exhaustion she could no longer fully hide. Then quietly, she whispered, "Please, let today be different." She picked up her bag, opened her purse, and counted the money inside. 340 naira. Everything she had left in the world. Not enough for transport both ways. For a moment, panic rose inside her chest. Then she took a deep breath. "I will walk," she told herself, 6 miles, in worn-out shoes with thinning soles. But people without options do not complain. They endure. So Amara stepped outside and began to walk, fast, then faster, and eventually she began to run. Her skin. Cars sped past her. People rushed to work. Street traders shouted from roadside stalls. But Amara noticed none of it. All she could hear was the sound of her own heartbeat. Fast, heavy, desperate. Her worn-out flats had almost no soles left. She could feel every stone, every crack in the pavement. Still, she kept moving, because ahead of her was hope. She checked the time on a bank clock. 2 minutes left. Just 2 minutes. Maybe if she ran faster, maybe they would still let her in. So she ran. Then suddenly, she heard shouting. Not ordinary shouting. Angry shouting. Ugly shouting. Mob shouting. A crowd had gathered outside a bakery. People held phones up recording. Others screamed insults. Amara tried to ignore it. She really did. But then she heard a weak voice cry out, "Please, help me." And something inside her stopped. She turned. An old woman lay on the ground. Frail, weak, terrified. Her white hair was tangled, her dress torn. Blood marked her trembling hands. People surrounded her angrily. She stole bread. Teach her a lesson. Call the police. Someone shoved her. Someone raised a hand to strike her. The old woman trembled. "I was just hungry." And in that moment, Amara saw something painfully familiar in her eyes. Loneliness. Amara froze. She looked at the old woman. Then, at the time. 1 minute left. If I stop now, I lose everything. Her dream was ahead. The woman's suffering was behind. She took a step forward, then stopped. The old woman looked directly at her. Tears mixed with fear, and suddenly, Amara saw herself, alone, hungry, forgotten. She thought about all the nights she cried silently in that tiny room, the days she drank water just to ignore hunger, the humiliation, the loneliness. Then another thought entered her mind. Quiet, soft, dangerous. What kind of person do you want to become? Amara closed her eyes, took one deep breath, and turned back. Stop! The crowd paused. She didn't steal because she wanted to, Amara said softly. She was hungry. Some argued, others mocked her, but Amara stepped between them and the old woman. Her hands trembled. Her interview was dying with every second. Still, she reached into her purse. 340 naira, her last money. She poured the coins into the baker's hand. This will pay for the bread. The baker stared silently at the money, then at Amara, then at the woman. Finally, he sighed. Take her and go. Slowly, the crowd calmed. People began walking away, phones lowered. The old woman was free, and perhaps her life had just been saved too. Amara helped the woman stand. Then she ran. She ran with everything left inside her. But deep down, she already knew. She was late. By the time she reached the company, her feet were bleeding inside her shoes. Her dress clung to her skin with sweat. Her knees still carried dust from where she knelt beside the woman. The interview is over. No apology, no second chance, no explanation. Amara stood there breathing hard. For a moment, she wanted to explain everything. The crowd, the bread, the old woman. But looking at the receptionist's tired face, she realized something. Some people only understand suffering when it happens to them. Outside the building, Amara cried quietly against a wall. Not loudly, just enough to release the disappointment sitting inside her chest. Maybe kindness is a luxury for people who can afford it, she thought bitterly. Eventually, she returned to where she left the old woman, and there she was, still waiting, sitting quietly on an old crate, like someone who no longer believed people returned once they left. You came back, the woman whispered. Amara smiled faintly. Let's go home. Home was small, very small, a cold room, a leaking window, one blanket, little food. But Amara shared everything she had: food, space, time, care. That night, she split her last packet of noodles into 2 bowls. The old woman ate slowly, carefully, like someone trying not to take too much. At night, the woman woke up, confused. Where am I? Who are you? Sometimes she asked, has my son eaten? Or, did my husband come home yet? Amara never fully understood the questions, but each time, she gently held the woman's hand and said, you are safe. Again and again. Every night. A few days later, word reached the aunt. She has started bringing strangers into that room now. Her voice dripped with irritation. She cannot even feed herself properly, yet she is carrying another problem on her head. Her uncle said quietly, she is helping someone. But the aunt scoffed. One day her kindness will destroy her. Amara heard those words, but she said nothing, because deep inside, she could not abandon the old woman. The old woman's name was Eleanor. Slowly, pieces of her memory returned. A son named Julian, a large mansion, carers, security guards. Eleanor suffered from dementia. Some moments she remembered clearly. Other moments, everything disappeared again. One afternoon she whispered, my son must be looking for me. And another day she said softly, I got tired of being watched all the time. Little by little, the story came together. Eleanor once lived in luxury. After her husband died, her wealthy son took her in. Carers watched her constantly. Security guards followed her movements. She could not even take a walk alone. Then one day, while the gate man was distracted and one of the carers was bathing, Eleanor walked out. No phone, no money, no plan, just freedom. But freedom became confusion. Confusion became hunger, and hunger eventually led her to the bakery. Days later, Amara saw it. A newspaper headline: "Missing billionaire's mother. Reward, 500 million naira." And beneath it, Eleanor's face. Amara froze. It was the realization that this fragile woman once lived surrounded by luxury, yet still ended up hungry and alone. At the bottom of the page, there was a phone number. Amara quickly borrowed a phone from a nearby shop owner. Her hands trembled as she dialed. The call connected almost immediately. "Office of Julian Vance." Amara swallowed nervously. "I think I found your mother." Silence, then movement. Voices, panic. Finally, a man's voice came on the line, deep, shaking, desperate. "Is she alive?" Amara looked at Eleanor. "Yes," she whispered. "She's alive." Cars arrived. Expensive black cars. A man stepped out, tall, well-dressed, powerful, but the moment he saw Eleanor, he fell to his knees. "Mama," he cried openly, like a little boy who had finally found his way home. "We searched everywhere." Eleanor touched his face gently, and for a brief moment, clarity returned to her eyes. "My son," she whispered softly. Julian listened to everything: the crowd, the bread, the interview, the small room, the nights Amara stayed awake comforting his mother. And when she finished, he became silent. Then finally he said, "You saved my mother." Not just from that crowd, but from loneliness, from fear, and maybe even from death. Julian lowered his eyes briefly before continuing. "I gave her comfort, but you gave her humanity. You reminded her what kindness feels like." Julian rewarded her generously, but more importantly, he gave her an opportunity, a job, a future, a beginning. He made one phone call, and suddenly, the interview Amara lost no longer mattered because something greater had found her. And suddenly, the girl who once slept on a cold concrete floor finally had hope again. Eventually, word reached the aunt. She came to see Amara's new home, warm, beautiful, peaceful. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then quietly, "You have done well." Amara looked at her calmly. No anger, no revenge, just peace. "Yes," she replied softly. "I finally have." Life tests people in strange ways. Sometimes, when you are desperate, when you are tired, when you have almost nothing left. And in those moments, you choose who you truly are. Amara could have walked away. She could have protected her future. But instead, she stopped. And perhaps that was the moment her life truly changed. Not when the money came, not when the job arrived, but the moment she chose to remain human in a world that had almost hardened her completely. Because sometimes the opportunity you miss is only making space for the life you were truly meant to live. And that is the story of Amara, a young woman who had almost nothing, yet still chose kindness. And in the end, life rewarded the goodness she refused to lose. If you enjoyed this story, and you love emotional African stories filled with life lessons, powerful endings, and unforgettable moments, then don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share it with someone who needs to hear this message today. And tell us in the comments, what would you have done? Would you have continued to the interview, or stopped to help the old woman? Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again in the next story.